Good morning, everybody. So today we are in the high tunnel where in a couple weeks tomatoes will be growing. But to start out, if you've been watching the previous videos, you'll know I had to till this. I put some fertilizer in the ground just to help the plant and the fruit later on in the season. And now that everything's tilled in and ready to go, we're finally ready to start putting down our fabric. And so what I'm doing now is I've got my string line and I've got, I don't know, my little digger type tool here. And so what I'm doing is making a nice straight line for our drip line to lay down in here, because if that drip line lays on top of the ground, what can happen is the mice will come and sometimes they'll chew a hole through it, and then I gotta go back through later on in the season, lift up the fabric, and it kind of just makes a big mess. So we're gonna try and bury it deep enough so that the mice don't want to get at it, but not too deep so that it's not helping the tomato, you know, when we're watering. So the biggest thing is that we need to make straight rows, because if we don't make straight rows and we don't know where those rows are at, when we go to poke down through to plant our tomatoes later on in the season, we could risk cutting that drip line. So we have along the whole greenhouse here, for each row, 2 screws. This one is for the drip line, this one is just for the actual row where the tomato is going to be. So now that we have that established, it's simple. I can take my string right here, put it right on this upper screw, and we always want to put it on the upper screw because the whole high tunnel kind of angles like this, and that way when the water is running, it's obviously going to want to go downhill, and that'll go right down towards the tomato. So that's the whole method for that. And then I'll go down there, I'll stretch it tight because we have screws down there as well, and that's what helps me so that I can know exactly where to dig my trench for the drip line. Okay, so all my trenches are dug. Now Frank is here. We got the drip tape, and we're gonna start rolling it out down each row. And we're gonna leave a little bit extra so that we can tie the ends up and we can hook it up to our header line that's gonna run right along the top of the greenhouse here. That's good right there. Get a little bit extra out for here. Right. So the drip tape is laid in the trenches that I dug, all 6 rows. So now what we're doing is making sure that this white side is up, because if I can show you here, there's an emitter. And when I say an emitter, it's a little hole. You can probably see a little crease right there where the water will start to drip out once it builds up to pressure. So if that's upside down, it might not work correct. So it's a big deal we have that white side straight up, and then we cover it and make sure it's all the way down in that V. So we just got our first 2 rows done right here, and the reason why we left it sticking out about 1 foot or 2 foot here on each end is because so we can tie it down at that end, and then this end is going to hook up to our header line, which is right there. So that'll be in a little bit after we get the fabric laid once we're done covering these. So Frank right now has his white side up, and he's making sure that the drip tape is laying flat and the white side is sticking straight up. So we'll do that with the rest of the 4 rows that we have. And then it's kind of hard to see everything right now because everything's tilled and looks the same, but right here is going to be our drip line, and then right here about 6 inches away, maybe not even quite 6 inches because you can see that screw there, will be our rows of tomatoes, which will probably be planted in about 3 to 4 days. Really, we'd like to have them planted right now, but tonight we're supposed to get like 4 to 6 inches of snow or something crazy like that. And it's, what's today, Frank, like the 20th of April or something? Yeah, so it's just crazy, and we don't have any heat in here, so it just wouldn't make sense for us to plant them. If worst comes to worst, we will put little heaters in here, propane heaters, but we don't like to do that if we don't have to. So let's, ooh, we need all the way to the end here. A little further yet. We have quite a bit of extra on the end.
I wonder if we cut.
That should be good. Pull yours, just pull it that way a little bit. That's good right there. We're just gonna flip it over.
Oh, duh. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You got it? So just keep pulling that. Keep going. Keep going. Just don't walk on the rows. And I'll pull this. It's gonna take a little bit to get it to lay right. Okay, so that's good right there, Frank. We don't want to pull it away from, we need to keep it along this edge. Frank just left for lunch. We got half of the fabric laid. When he comes back, we'll lay the other half. So far, everything's going pretty well. It just takes some time getting everything nice and straight and not having any crinkles in it, so that we don't have to fight with that for the rest of the season. Okay, so I just about got this greenhouse all finished up. I sent Frank down the lower high tunnel so we could pretty much just divide and conquer, because if we don't keep going, we're not gonna finish everything that I wanna do today. So, like I said, I gotta put a couple more staples in here, get the fabric pulled tight, and then basically this is over with besides putting in the header line. And then Frank I sent down to dig the trenches and clean up any weeds around the sides of the lower one. So he just called me, told me he's done. So that means I'm gonna head down and help him finish up his high tunnel. It should go a lot faster because that one's quite a bit smaller than this one. All right, so I just got down here to the lower high tunnel. Frank got these trenches dug. They look perfect, straight as an arrow. So now we'll grab our drip tape and start laying out our lines. Good morning, everybody. So now here it is the next day, and as you can see, we got a nice 2 inches of snow last night, and just making everything extremely miserable and sloppy. And it's not like winter where, you know, the ground's froze and the snow just sits on top. It's like the ground's warm, everything's slushy and wet and muddy, and it's just, it'll probably be gone by the end of today, but it's just a big nuisance, especially, you know, a couple days after Easter. So it's not really what we were expecting, but we just got to roll with the punches. So I'm coming down into the greenhouses right now, and as you can see, we just have basically a lake out in front here. So gonna try not to walk in that too much. But once you walk in the greenhouse, it's a little bit happier. Everything's doing really nice so far. And we're just about ready for market. We're thinking, usually we go to markets on Wednesdays and Sundays, but now we're not gonna go to market this Wednesday, but now this coming Sunday, which is only about 5 days away, will be the first day of the 2022 market season. So kind of excited, and I think we got a lot of beautiful stuff that people are gonna be ready to buy.